Let the games begin. Did you know that just 15 minutes of mental stimulation is equivalent to 30 minutes of physical stimulation for our dogs? One of the best ways to offer mental stimulation to our dogs is to let them play with puzzles. So today I'm going to show you my growing puzzle collection that my dogs always play with, and I think that your dogs are going to like as well. We're gonna start with the Nina Addison puzzles, which are by Outward Hound. So they have 4 levels from their very beginner level all the way to expert. When your dog is new to puzzles, maybe they've never played with puzzles before, level 1 or level 2 is going to be best for them. Level 1 is filled with a lot of wobble boards and balls that dispense treats when they bat them around and play with them. I don't really have any level 1 games because I have some similar puzzles or toys from other brands, which I'll show you later. I will put some of the level 1 puzzles from Outward Hound on the screen just because I am a big fan of anything that comes from their brand, but we're gonna jump right into level 2 puzzles. So one of the most basic puzzles, if your dog has never played with a puzzle before, that I think is gonna be perfect for them is this one right here, and it's called the hide and slide. So there are not many treat compartments in here because all puzzles work the same. They work by you take some treats, you hide them in the puzzle, and your dog has to uncover them. They've got to sniff them out, so it's heightening their senses, and then they've got to figure out how to get to that tasty reward. So the more challenging the puzzle, the more challenging it is going to be able to get that little treat out. So this one, it only has a couple of slots for you to put some treats into, and it's pretty basic on what your dog has to do. So this is a treat compartment, for example, and there's this little flipper, and there's also this little block. So usually what I do is I'll either position it this way, or maybe I'll keep the flipper out and I'll put the block right over the hole. Either one works. And what your dog will have to do is slide this over and swivel the flipper. So it's really giving them 2 challenges which they have to repeat over and over and over. So once they master it, they can pretty much blow through this puzzle. Another puzzle that is in the level 2 challenge category for Outward Hound and Nina Addison puzzles is the tornado. Now, judging by the name, what do we think it does? We think it spins, right? Because that's what a tornado does. And that's exactly what this puzzle does as well. So your dog will have to spin each level and uncover all of the treat slots. So when you're first letting your dog play with this puzzle, what I recommend is to take a biscuit or a cookie. I always say homemade, and I've got plenty of recipes that I share with you, but whatever your dog's favorite treat is, I would take one of these, and I wouldn't put the whole thing in here because we don't want our dogs overeating. But what I do is I take one and I just break it apart into a million little pieces, and I would do loose treats in here. But if your dog gets used to this puzzle and you want to increase the challenge, let's say, you can always fill these sections with something like goat's milk or a bone broth, and you can actually put it in the freezer and freeze your treat into here, because then what's going to happen is not only will your dog have to spin this around to find the treat, but then if they like frozen treats, they'll spend time licking the treat and wearing it away. Also in the level 2 category, we have this puzzle right here. This one actually was the first puzzle that I ever bought my dogs. I've had this one for several years, still one of my favorites, called the dog brick, and it offers several different ways that are going to challenge your dog. So hidden treat compartments we have right here in this flap. So your dog will have to open up these flaps. Sometimes they break apart because my dogs will step on them, but I've always been able to snap them right back together. They are nothing is indestructible, no toy is indestructible. Always recommend to, watch your dog and supervise them when they're playing with these puzzles, but they are pretty much designed to be, withstand the play, so to say. So you hide the treat here in this compartment, and then your dog will have to lift these blocks here, and you can hide another treat here, And then here's the cool one. They have to slide this over, and there's another hidden treat spot over here. Just because my dogs know how to do this puzzle, I still give it to them on a regular basis because it is one of their favorites and they still really enjoy playing with this one. Now, once they have mastered those level 1 and level 2 puzzles, it's time to get a little bit more challenging. That's where this one comes in. So this one is called the challenge slider, and it is a level 3 puzzle. It's got a bunch of treat compartments. So you slide this out and you fill these up with treats, and then you slide it back in, and your dog has to move each one of these little bricks one by one by one. It is really fun to watch your dogs do this one because on the surface this looks like a very challenging puzzle, and once your dog gets it, it's just so cool to watch them go through this. You will get so proud of your dog. Now, once your dog has mastered this one, and I wouldn't move on to the next one until your dog has mastered this one, but after this one, we have got the level 4 puzzle, which is called the multi-puzzle, and it is because it has multiple challenges for our dogs. Now, around the perimeter, you can see you've got to slide the blocks. So that is pretty similar to the challenge slider. Where they have increased the challenge on this one is they've added locks. So your dog not only has to move the blocks, but then they have to unlock in order to keep moving the blocks. My dogs have figured this one out. They've got that one down pat. Now, we've only had this one for a couple weeks. This is a newer puzzle for us. This middle section, they still don't get it. And that is okay. That I actually really like, because when I am at my computer working or I'm doing something, they are there trying to figure it out. Now, of course, I do always start by sitting with them and showing them how to do it, but you know, they get antsy and they want to do it themselves because they smell those treats and they want to get to it. So sometimes I'll just put it down and let them, you know, figure it out. But this middle part, here's what they have to do. They have to move these blocks. Okay, not too bad. You move the block in, you uncover the treat. But then they have to know to move it back and then spin this piece, line it up perfectly with the next block, and then move this over. I know for us this seems pretty basic, but that's a big challenge for our dogs. This is really challenging. So this is the level 4 expert level puzzle, and I would not recommend buying this puzzle without going through the other levels first. Now we're moving on from the Outward Hound puzzles. This one is by Trixie, and it is called the Mad Scientist. It's such a cute name, right? Because these do really look like little science tubes. So just like the other puzzles where you have to try to, you know, hide treats somewhere, they go right into this section. You don't have to take these off. You just drop them right into the holes, and you put this on the ground, and your dog has to use his paw, spin the tubes around, and wait for them to drop out. This looks really basic, but it actually does take the dogs a little while to get through it because sometimes they spin it so fast and the treats don't fall out. Other times they're just a little timid with it, and then, you know, then there's those successful moments where the treats will drop. So far, all of the puzzles that I have shown you have been plastic. These that I'm going to show you are your plush ones. And some dogs prefer the plush ones. My poodle is like that. She just prefers a plush toy. And the Snuffle Mat, which is this guy right here, is one of her favorites. So this one I made myself, and I have a DIY tutorial that you can check out, and I'll link to that. You can also buy them. What you do is you hide the treats inside. The deeper you place them, the more challenging it will be. And it's supposed to mimic the foraging activities that our dog's ancestors had to do as they were tracking down their food. And so when your dog plays with this, you will hear the most intense sniffing because they're sniffing out the treats, which is just super cute. And they're heightening their senses. They're challenging their mind. They're really tracking. They're looking for all the treats. So as simple as this one looks, it is a really great mental stimulation game that your dogs can play with. Now, another version of a Snuffle Mat is this one right here. I think it's cute because it looks like a carrot patch. The challenge is your dog has to remove these and uncover the treat inside. Small, medium, large dogs, this is probably great for all of them. The only type of dog I would say might have a challenge with this game is pugs or other breeds that have a flat face, because the treat hole in here, it's pretty deep. My dogs have longer snouts, and they have to like squish their whole entire face into the hole in order to get down there and get the treat. But they love it and they have a good time with this one. Earlier, I mentioned when I was talking about those level 1 puzzles that I didn't have because I have them in other versions. So let's kind of talk about that. This one right here is called the Snoop. It's not necessarily a puzzle, but it is an enriching toy, which is why I'm including it in this video. So what you do is lift this center part and then you fill it with either treats, or if you feed your dog kibble, you can also feed their meal right in here. And then once it's loaded up with food, you can go ahead and just pop this section down, give it to your dog to play with. Same thing with this one. So this toy is by the Kong brand and it's called the Kong Gyro. They come in multiple sizes. And what you do is you fill this center section here with treats, or again, if you're a kibble feeder, you can also put some kibble in here. Put it on the ground, and this center section, it moves around, it spins, and then the treats will fall out. And it's a pretty easy one. Dogs really seem to like it. My guys, I know, get a kick out of it. You can actually see that mine is pretty beat up. And it's because that they've used it so many times. It is a little bit more challenging on hardwood than it is on a rug. So if your dog has never played with this before, if you have carpets or area rugs, I would start there and then move along. Speaking of the Kong brand, of course, you can never go wrong with the classic Kong. They come in multiple sizes, multiple thicknesses. I have an entire video on the Kong and what I recommend to stuff your Kongs with, depending on if you have a beginner, an intermediate, or an expert Kong player. So that's another video that I will link to so you can check it out. And last but not least, again, I know this is not a puzzle, but it is an enriching toy, so I wanted to include it here. This one is the Holy Roller toy, and you can either put it on the ground just like this if your dog likes to play with balls, or you can stuff it with some treats. I've seen people put jerky strips in here. I've seen people, what I've actually done in the past is tied some fleece strips to it and then stuffed it with treats, and it becomes kind of like almost like a Snuffle Mat, but it's like a snuffle ball in a way. And then your dog has to bat it around in order to get the treats out. That's one of my favorites. I've also seen people put smaller ones in larger ones and then put the treat in the smaller one, and they have to kind of figure out how to get it out. There's a bunch of different ways that you can play with this, but this is another great toy. So those are some of my dog's favorite interactive toys and puzzles. If your dog plays with another puzzle that I have not mentioned, I would love to hear about it. Drop a comment below. If you think your dog is going to love playing with puzzles, give the video a big thumbs up. Before you leave, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I post product reviews, recipe ideas, and so much more. See you next time.